All right. So then he does go on to say that the elders should have children who believe, because like you said, it starts in the family. Can he lead his family? Can he raise them in a godly manner? Now, this is something, though, that I always struggle with is what happens if, so like, let's say you have a pastor and then their kids deconstruct and fall away from the faith.
Sure.
Does that mean that they're not qualified to be an elder or a pastor in the church anymore?
Yeah, that's a great point, and that's one that I've personally wrestled with because I know other people who have been elders who have thought the same thing, who are kind of in that same situation. And to me, I think that we are to raise up our children well, right? And I mean, he talks about a man whose children believe and are not open to the charge of being wild and disobedient. God says that we are to obedient to our parents, right? So he talks about obedience. So to me, that means young children, who are obedient to their parents and other, the other grown-ups,
Yeah.
But once you're a grown up, you don't fall under the jurisdiction of your parents anymore. The Bible calls us to honor our father and mother, which does not have an end date on it.
True.
But it doesn't say that you must obey your parents for the rest of your life.
Right.
And I think that grown-ups make their own decisions.
You're right.
And there comes a time when parents have to let their children be grown-ups and make their own decisions, And, I think that there have been plenty of examples, and actually there was one here recently. And again, this isn't a statement of his, character or whatever, but you think about what recently just happened to Rob Reiner and his wife.
Right.
He's got 2 kids. I mean, obviously we don't know for sure if that's what he's been indicted for that, right?
Right.
And so he's got 2 kids that are great kids.
Yeah. And
one kid that has been dealing with drugs since the age of 15.
Yeah.
And so obviously he raised some kids well.
Right.
But is it his fault that one fell away? He probably raised them in the same way.
Right.
Right? I mean, my own family. There are people who, a son dealt with alcoholism and died very young. And his sister grew up and had a great life and married, and they were raised the same way,
Yeah.
So I think it's one of those things where, I mean, shoot, even Rick Warren, one of his sons passed away from suicide at a young age, Yeah. And I don't think anybody, when you think about people who are elder material, Rick Warren is one of them, right?
Yeah.
And so I think we have to understand that adults make their own decisions.
Yeah.
And we don't control them, and there's only so much you can do once a person reaches an adult.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I appreciate you kind of diving into that and kind of breaking that down, because what I don't want anybody to do is hear those words and think, well, I'm disqualified, or I didn't do a good enough job, or it's my fault that my kids aren't doing X, Y, or Z.
Right.
And let's be frank, as parents, we have to take responsibility for some of the behaviors of our children.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And we should, and there's biblical guidance for that, right? But to your point, your kids will get to an age where they're going to make some decisions on their own, and they're going to have to work out their salvation with the Lord one-on-one.
Yeah.
Right. And we can't necessarily make that happen or do that. And we can't make all their decisions for them. And sometimes our kids are going to make really good choices despite our bad parenting.
Yeah.
And other times,
ain't that the truth?
And other times they're going to make really bad decisions despite our good parenting. Right.
Yeah.
They're going to have to make some decisions. So there has to be some grace there. But what we want to see from an elder is, do they have a relationship with their children? Are they taking those steps? Are they working with them? Are they trying to guide them in the right way for as long as that child will let them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.